Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. ScottyD49 here with you once again, and this time we've got Session 7 of Dungeons and Gumdrops, off to see the wizards. So, bit of backstory, I'm just going to be doing a recap of the session. At the time, if you were live with this, I actually had a power outage just towards the end of the session, which resulted in the file that I had saved, which was the stream file, be corrupted. So I don't actually have the full recording for you. However, some good friends of mine, one of our other party members, Kane, actually had the session up on his YouTube, so I actually went back and I watched that. If you do want to go and watch that, I'll link that in the description as well down below, but I'm going to give you a comprehensive recap of what this session entailed, so that then when Session 8 comes out on YouTube, you're able to roll straight into it. Now, I've got about 5 pages of notes directly in front of me, so I'm going to try and read from them whilst also talking with you guys in the camera, and I'll do the best I can at that. But, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into it. We pick up the party just after leaving Oakhurst, heading north to Mirabar to find a group of wizards that Lady Kerowyn directed us to go and speak with to find out more information about the trees. Altharion is at the head of the party, leading them along the road north. We turn and we start heading northeast, and we start to come across a crossroads. His hood is donned, and Disguised Self is on to make his appearance seem very shadowy and dark under the hood. In the distance as they approach this crossroads, there is a woman standing in the middle, kind of sure of herself, knowing that that's where she's meant to be at that moment. And she's quite beautiful, taking Altharion aback at her appearance as they get closer. Altharion turns off Disguised Self and removes his hood. He approaches this woman and introduces himself. After discussing the circumstances of their perchance meeting, whether it was fate, predestination, or mere coincidence, they introduce themselves to each other. Altharion introduces himself first, and then the lady, Evanora, introduces herself to him and the rest of the party. Evanora is Sugarsockz's new character for the campaign, as Hannalore left us at Oakhurst to travel around the Forgotten Realms in the north to share word of what we had found about the trees amongst the churches she was aligned with. As Altharion was discussing their mission with her, that they were trying to find the wizards about the trees but didn't want to mention them, both nAga and Avery blurted out that information, not even knowing who Evanora was. Altharion then explained the full story to Evanora and offered, or more like asked, if she'd like to join us. She responded with a noble quest and that she would join us along it. As we continue along, the party starts to chat amongst themselves, and Altharion engages in some small talk with Evanora to get to know her a little more. Avery and nAga are also butting at times, to Altharion's chagrin. But it starts to get dark. Altharion, knowing these parts, finds a small nook on the side of the road, a little bit off the road as well, so they're able to make camp for the night. Altharion offers to take the first watch whilst the rest of the party sleeps, and almost immediately, Evanora states that she'll take the second. During Altharion's watch, he notices that Varrick's stirring a little bit in his sleep, potentially dreaming. But he'll kind of shudder for a little bit, but still remain asleep. His watch ends and Evanora's watch begins. He posts up against a tree and falls asleep with his hood over his head. And Evanora patrols, very policing-like, around the party, and notices the same thing, except it's a bit more violent to her. It's a bit more evident. Varrick is having a dream that he's being held out by his arms by a shadowy figure outside of a window, who then, the shadowy figure releases him, flies down, catches him, and the dream starts all over again. So his stirring is when he's falling, and he falls, and when he's caught is when he stirs. Closer to the morning, Evanora wakes Altharion up. Now, Altharion being a ranger, he sleeps quite lightly because of these circumstances that he's used to. So he's not opposed to being woken up, but still, not being used to Evanora waking him up. Shakes a little bit, pulls off his hood, wipes his face, and Evanora says that something is wrong with our friend, Varrick. Several party members at the time, after we're all awake, attempt to wake Varrick up from this dream, but fail to do so. And Altharion notes that this is not natural. Drakax has seen this before, but notes that people normally wake up from this. He also forces down Varrick's throat a vial of antitoxin, just to be safe. Has a small effect on him in terms of a positive way, but nothing in terms of waking him. Whilst everyone is around Varrick trying to wake him up, Rukhar just kind of standing by the fire, just stoking it whilst this is happening. Drakax then starts to look around the area that we are in, and he is the one that first notices that it's very misty and foggy, and that the road that we were traveling on is no longer there, and that there are no sounds around us either. Rukhar, whilst he's stoking the fire, as the party continues to worry about what's wrong with Varrick, is able to hear horses off in the distance, and says to the party, there's someone coming. As the horses approach, Rukhar continues to get the party's attention, and by about the third time, Altharion clues in and asks Rukhar, where? Where are they coming from? The west. nAga hears them before Altharion, however, and notes that they're at a galloping pace. Altharion then suggests to the party to move towards these horses. Now, nAga decides that he's going to be the one to carry Varrick, who is still passed out, still having these night terrors, this nightmare, and shuddering a little bit in his sleep. Despite Evanora also offering to do so, nAga, being quite strong-willed as a monk, decides to give it a crack himself, and is able to do it. A little bit of struggle, but he's able to. The fog continues to roll in thicker as the party deliberates. And the fire that Rukhar is stoking turns a weird greenish colour at this point. The party gathers and starts to move towards those horses, and it's at this point that Rukhar is entranced by the fire. As nAga is carrying Varrick, Varrick has one of his thrashes, one of his stirrings. He falls to the ground and wakes up. He remembers everything from his dreams. In the fire, a figure forms, and a scene plays out on repeat. A man getting thrown from his horse and getting speared multiple times from multiple directions. And it's just on repeat. The same scene, over and over. And Rukhar is entranced, waiting to see if it will change. Altharion goes up to behind Rukhar to pull him up to get him to move along with the rest, and he himself gets entranced, seeing if this story will change. The horses are slowing down as they get closer to the party. However, only Evanora Avery, nAga, and Varrick hear them getting closer. It's at this point that Avery decides to stealthily hide behind a couple of trees out of their way so he cannot be seen. Drakax, who is still not with the rest of the party on the other side of the fire, tries to head over to Altharion and Rukhar to get them out of their trance. But he himself also gets stuck in the trance, seeing if this story is going to change. The horses continue to approach. Evanora, Varrick, and nAga can hear people talking, but can't make out what they're saying. Like it's murmuring, like it's in the distance. But there are about 4 or 5 horses coming their way. Evanora casually pulls out her greatsword and rests it on the back of her shoulders, ready to go when necessary. nAga decides to yell out, "Hello!" to the approaching people, who then promptly stop in their tracks. The horses stop. They're not moving. A deep female voice replies, "Hello!" back to nAga, and nAga asks back, who's asking who they are. And the female asks nAga to keep talking, to which nAga says that we need help. 6 horses come out of the thick fog to the west with human riders. The lead male asks how we ended up all the way where we were. And nAga once again asks if they're able to help. An older man, further back in the pack of horses, rides up to the fire, looks at Altharion, Drakax, and Rukhar, and says, "Oh, they're fine." And then it was the fire that brought us here. nAga asks, "Where's here?" not knowing where we are now. A female behind the lead male trots around her counterparts, saying that we are in Barovia, as she demounts her horse and asks if we want to see the rest of the story play out in the fire. The lead male says that the story playing out is true and that we can't leave. nAga asks, "What is Barovia?" And the man replies that we are in the domain of the Dread. It is at this point that the lead male goes, "Oh, how rude of me. I'm Stanimir," and introduces himself. The young female then says that Varrick is the reason that we are in Barovia, as he fell asleep in the wrong spot. Fitting. As she shows us Varrick's dream in the fire through simply holding out her hands and rubbing them together. Altharion, Rukhar, and Drakax escape their trance because the story had changed. Drakax guesses that the scene playing out in the fire is the story of Strahd, which is correct. Stanimir offers to put us up in their encampment, and the young female brings up the rear of the party by clapping her hands as they start to move out. The fire goes out. Altharion, surveying the trees and the nature around him as a ranger as they travel forward, has never seen anything like these trees, and pulls off a piece of bark to study them later. Stanimir leads the party to a small tented town where an older woman, who is of a gypsy appearance, and an older gentleman cleaning around her are waiting for us. nAga heads into the tent and sits down with the older woman, whilst Altharion is on the edge of the outside of the tent, one ear into the conversation, and getting the lay of the land, as a ranger does. Everyone else slowly filters into the tent and gets comfortable around the fire. The older woman then says she's been waiting on us, and that the cards told her we were coming. She then looks at each of us for about 30 seconds to place us, and more than likely she's already seen our appearance of some kind, so she's putting names to faces and things like that. The older woman introduces herself as Madame Eva, and then introduces the younger woman as Damia, her granddaughter. The older male who said we were okay at the fire is Rukhar. Sorry, not Rukhar, that's our dwarf. Radkar, I should say. Madame Eva is the fortune teller of Barovia, and asks if we know why we are here. Avery decides to play coy and says that we don't know why we are here. However, Altharion, while still looking outside of the tent, says bluntly to Avery, "We know exactly why we are here. Don't play coy." And at that, Drakax chuckles. Madame Eva tells us that because we killed Black the way that we did in the Sunless Citadel, the Council left a trap for us so that we would be brought to Barovia. She asks us if Black told us anything before his death, and at this point Altharion walks into the tent to tell the story. But before he starts, Madame Eva asks if she can retell the story of the party from the past 6 sessions. Damia opens up the palm of her hand, and a small green fire comes about into it. And as Madame Eva is telling the story of the party, it plays out in her hand. The various conversations, the combat, what we find in the Sunless Citadel. Eva says that Strahd is annoyed that we killed the tree, and believes that Tatiana's soul is back in Barovia because we killed it. Altharion then pushes Eva for more answers about the rest of the party that we were looking for in the Sunless Citadel, and shares that Black is not dead, however, and is the reason we're here. Eva suggests that we could seek out Black or Strahd to find out more about what happens of the party from Oakhurst before we found them. But at this point, Stanimir pipes up and says that Strahd isn't happy currently, as the woman who he believes has Tatiana's soul isn't being given up by her father. And Eva says that the cards that she has says that it's not Tatiana's soul, but Strahd does not believe anyone about it. The dream that Varrick had was Strahd and what he was doing to Tatiana at his castle, Madame Eva revealed. Altharion further presses Madame Eva and asks about the trees, and she says that they should be dealt with, but that they shouldn't have sent the stake there. The stake is what ties all the trees together, and without the stake, the trees will die. Eva also says that the stake wasn't intended for Tatiana, but in fact for Strahd, so that they could leave. However, the council took it from them, and instead used it on Tatiana. Drakax says that, in short, they want to be rid of Strahd, and it's at this Eva says that he was the one who said it, not her. And Stanimir pipes up and says that Strahd can hear everyone in the realm. Altharion says at least now we know how to deal with the trees, but we need to leave Barovia first. To which Drakax says, "We're going vampire hunting." To this, Altharion asks not just Drakax but the rest of the party to keep the desires of dealing with Strahd to themselves as best as possible. If he indeed can hear them, he doesn't necessarily want to be killed in the middle of the night. Eva sits back at the table and starts to shuffle a large deck of cards. Tarot cards, we come to find out. After directing us to the tents where we can stay in and leave our stuff if necessary, she says we aren't ready yet to find out our fate, but in the morning, if we wanted to, she would be willing to tell us to deal out the deck. Altharion suggests that they sleep on all of this, And Drakax, being the one who said he wanted to kill Strahd, headed towards the furthest most tent, as he doesn't think anyone else will want to share a tent with him after that. It's at this point Altharion then starts to move towards the middle tent, and nAga, being the Dragonborn enthused monk, heads into Drakax's tent as well, with a smile, and surprises him. Of course, the night, things start to die down. We can see Stanimir patrolling around the tents, and Varrick's dream is very much burnt into his memory, because not only did he see it, he felt it. Not just the emotions or the physical sensations. He felt everything about that situation. And that is where we leave the party for session 7 of Dungeons and Gumdrops. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, well, I hope you enjoyed my retelling of Dungeons and Gumdrops session 7, Off to See the Wizards. It's unfortunate that I didn't have the original recording, but very fortunate that I was able to look at one of the other party members, gather some notes, and be able to give a small recap to you all about what happened in this session, so that more of these sessions could be coming out on the YouTube channel. Now, if you are wanting to catch these sessions played live with myself and my party members, feel free to have a look down below in the description as the details for there. We do stream it over on Twitch at 10 AM Australian Eastern Standard Time most Saturdays. It's absolutely such a blast to play with the crew. It's so much fun. And if you do enjoy the Dungeons & Dragons videos, please feel free to drop a like, a comment, and even subscribe to the channel as well for more, not just Dungeons & Dragons content, but also Warhammer 40k and hobby miniature wargaming content, hobbying the alike as well. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you are wanting to come and check us out live, details are down below in the description. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been Scotty D49, and I'll catch you in the next video.